Welcome to Integrity Inspire, your daily dose of inspiration and motivation, featuring the bright and talented members of the Integrity Marketing Group family. Now, here's your host, Integrity co-founder and CEO, Brian W. Adams.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining today's Inspire podcast. I'm so excited to be welcoming a new partner to the Integrity family and what I think is going to be one of the more inspirational stories that we've ever shared here at Inspire. We started the Inspire podcast just to share stories and inspire others to do great things and to make sure people realize that most of our partners were not born with a silver spoon in their mouth, that they had to overcome a lot and work really hard and be humble in the process. And today's guest is going to be one of the most exciting partners here at the Inspire podcast I've ever had join us. And I can't wait to jump into his story. And I'm super excited to let you know that Tobe Oraegbu has joined the Integrity family, and his company, International Financial Group, has an incredible success story in the insurance business. And I can't wait for you to learn more about his story right now. Tobe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Brian, it means a lot to me. Very humbled to be here.
Man, listen, you just saying that, one of the things we found in meeting so many of our partners has been that there's two common threads. They're humble and hardworking. And you even saying that you're humbled to be here just kind of puts an emphasis on that. It's been amazing to see all the incredible stories that we've learned here at the Inspire podcast about people overcoming so much in so many different ways. Now, you have such a unique story. As we were just connecting and we've been talking about this, you were raised in Nigeria, and then you came to America. You were born in America, and then you went back to Nigeria. You were raised, and then you came back here in 2017. Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Right. Well, my mother specifically ensured from, loans and borrowing as much money as she could to make sure that we were born in America, obviously because of the opportunities here. So she had a long-term vision that at some point, maybe that would allow it to be easier for us to come to America. But it was a very quick birth, and, maybe a couple of days, I would assume. It was probably that quick. As soon as
your mom's pregnant, she flew over here,
correct,
gave birth so that you were born an American, and then she went right back.
And then,
do you have other siblings? How many siblings are you?
I have two siblings now. I had originally three. One passed away a few years ago. But yeah, so that's kind of that. But we went right back to Nigeria. And that's where I was raised for the first 18 years of my life. And then obviously the opportunity came to be able to get to this country, and we obviously jumped on it. And now it's been 10 years.
What was it like for your mom? I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories about the sacrifices she had to make to come here so that you were born here. And then what was it like growing up in Nigeria?
So that's actually one of the stories for me that have made such a big impact in my life because, when I look back at her sacrifice and, the work, because she was working 2-3 jobs at the time, running a boutique. So she had a lot of work ethic and was still able to sacrifice and make sure we had everything, as her children. I played, what you guys call soccer in America. We call it football. We'll leave that argument for a different day. So every year I would want a new jersey, and I would want, and by the way, this was inexpensive in the grand scheme of things, but for her that was a lot of money. Sure. She would make sure I had a new soccer ball every year, a new jersey every year. So she showed me unconditional love and genuine sacrifice of what it takes to just unselfishly put people first. And it's easy to do that for 1 year. It's easy to do that for 5 years, but to do that for 18, 20, and still doing that, there's just nothing more inspiring to me than that.
And so where does your mom live here now, or is she still in Nigeria?
We're still trying to get her here. We're trying to convince her, but she's stuck in some of her old ways. So she's still in Nigeria.
Man, so I'm a mama's boy. We were just talking about this. I can trace back most of the things I've done in life to my mom saying, I believe you can do it, right? If whatever that was, somebody would say, you can't do that. And she's like, no, yeah, but I know you can. And the power of your mom's voice of just saying, go do that, go attack that has always been such a powerful thing for me.
Very, very interesting you brought that up, because actually a few days ago, I sent a screenshot of my mother's messages. We communicate via WhatsApp. And I sent the messages to someone that's very close to me. And her response was, she needs, the person I sent it to said, she needs somebody, a hype man or hype woman like my mother. Because till today, my mother would just send me very random, like, you're the best, you're the greatest, you're going to do all these things. And, I'm praying for you. And I think that's like winning the lottery as a child, having someone speak life into you every single day, regardless of your mistakes or regardless of what you're doing. It's been huge. It's been huge for me.
Yeah, there's this concept of unconditional love that I think we all want in so many ways. And like you just said, regardless of good times or bad times, knowing that your mom's going to be there in your corner, your family's going to be there in your corner is such an important thing. And it's an interesting point because I think that's what most people really want more than anything. And it's also something that is hard to give. So even as you're in relationships, if you're in business, you have expectations for somebody, and it's like, but do you love them unconditionally, right? And it's one of the things, like, I just feel like if we could ever kind of break through that at a personal level, man, we could unleash a lot of different things. That's something we had this leadership academy with Tom Ziegler and the Zig Ziglar Corporation. And it was interesting kind of having some breakthrough moments of, and all you want is unconditional love, but how are you giving that, right? To your team, to your agents, and other things. And it's that modeled by your mom that has been such a great impact for me. It's like, it reminds me a lot of, how can I do better at that in so many ways. So where did you grow up in Nigeria? I'm not that familiar with Nigeria. Tell us a little bit about the country.
Yeah, so I grew up at the time, it was the capital, Lagos, which is the most populated state in Africa. And still is, I believe. So I grew up there for like the first 10 years. And then my father got a different job position in what ended up being the new capital, which is Abuja. And so we moved over there, and it was a very rough move because, my mother had to give up her job and what she had going on. So we moved into not even a one bedroom, a one room place. And the kitchen was right there. The bathroom had a little door there. It was one bed frame on the floor. And we all had to, sleep on that. And so that was the initial transition, at about 10, 11 years old. That was what we did. And then getting into Abuja, my father and my mother they were able to find some traction and start making, more progress. And that helped us out a bit. We were able to put food on the table. We moved into a better place. And through all of those things, obviously the highs and lows of life, they dealt with some things that caused some hardship for us and things like that. But overall, Brian, growing up in Nigeria for me was, till today, an experience that I would not trade, because when you come to a country like America, you get the best of the best. Like, it's a country I will call the greatest country on earth. The American dream to me is something that's very real. Now, it's not a dream that is given to you. You got to go out there and you got to work for it. But for me, growing up in Nigeria, at least for us, we didn't have much. So with nothing or with little, we were able to find happiness and joy in just friendship. Yeah. Playing soccer with my guys that, barefooted on the streets, brought us happiness, and doing that till 8 p.m. So those things gave me a true sense of what it actually takes to be happy. Because when you come to a country like America, it's easy to fall for the trap of, I need to make an X amount of money to become happy. And by the way, that's a trap I've fallen for a few times. But ultimately, you learn, and what that journey taught me is the things that fulfill people, the things that fulfill me is genuine relationships, fulfillment of my purpose on earth. And I think ultimately that's what matters the most.
Man, that's inspirational. And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in the trappings of everything else. And then some of the most unsatisfied, unhappy people I know are also some of the most successful, that are, they have it all, but they're not fulfilled at all because they haven't really found that purpose in what they're doing, or really, just found that joy, and kind of taking you back to that joy is such an important part. So you grew up, so I've got a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. So about the age you were when you guys moved into that one room house, right? So would you sleep on the floor? Did you guys, how would that work?
So we would all, this kind of on the conversation of sacrifice. With the kids would sleep on the bed, and my father and my mother would sleep. They had like a mat that they would roll out to sleep on the floor.
And was it a concrete floor?
It was a concrete floor, yes.
Golly, can you imagine, man? Talking about sacrifice. I know you mentioned that earlier. Mom would work 2 to 3 jobs to make sure that you guys had everything you needed to get a jersey, to get a soccer ball, so that you could go play barefoot out in the street, like you were talking about. I mean, I can just visualize this. And so you knew you were born in America. Right? The whole time.
The whole time.
Your mom was like, hey, you're born in America. You're going to do something.
She reminded us a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
So you're out there playing with your buddies and in the street, soccer, barefoot. Were you thinking a lot about, man, I'm going to do something one day. I'm going to go to America. How was that? What was that thought process?
Yeah. So really the whole thought process, at least how my mother pitched it to us, and this is something she reminded me of a lot. Hey, remember, you're born in America. You have a blue passport. You're going to do big things with your life. Don't get in trouble. Don't do that. They can do that. You have a blue passport. Don't do that. So that's something she reminded us of very, very often. The goal, the idea, however, was at some point after university, you guys call it college here. We call it university back home. At some point after university, maybe 3-4 years after that, I've had a job in Nigeria. I've had some success there, and then come to America at like 33, 35. That was the idea. Yeah. Because financially, there was no way, really, for us to do any of this. There was no way for us to get here in any way, shape, or form. Financially, there was no path to that. So it was far-fetched. But I always believed in the depths of my heart that at some point that I would get to this country. So what happened was after, you guys call high school here, after secondary school, my peers, my friends, all started applying to universities back home, which is the right thing to do, the smart thing to do. For some reason, I didn't. I'm like, no, I don't know if I don't want to do that. I don't know what, if my parents found out that I wasn't applying, I would have been in trouble, but I just didn't. And what I did was, my mother would give me 100 naira, is the currency back home, for transportation to church every day.
Well, and what does that compare to in U.S. dollars?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe 5.
So $5 every day.
Maybe $1.
Maybe $1?
Yeah.
Wow.
So give me $1 for transportation, but we say, we'll use the naira for transportation every day to church. And what I would do is I would walk to church because it wasn't too far. And then I would take that money and go to the cyber cafe, which is where you have access to internet. Right. And I would spend an hour there to apply to a lot of schools in America. Right. So I applied to, zero exaggeration, at least 100 schools. Wow. During that phase after secondary school. Right. And, my mom would ask me, well, hey, how's applying for schools going? I'm like, it's going good, because I didn't even know if I would get approved. There was no way, I was hoping soccer would be the path. So what happened was, we got approved by one school, which was Slippery Rock University, a school in about an hour from Pittsburgh, small town. And that was where I then brought it to her, like, hey, we just got approved. And she's like, where? So it's in America. And you can tell she's like annoyed, but she didn't want to show it, because she's like, how am I going to pay for that? Yeah. But it was a celebratory moment. We celebrated, we jumped, we were happy, excited. And then the rest we had to figure out after that.
So you came to America, you went to Slippery Rock University, which you got a scholarship.
A partial scholarship.
A partial scholarship to play soccer. And did you speak English a lot when you were growing up?
Yes, so we learned English in school.
So you did in school?
Yes, in school.
Everybody learns that. What's the language of Nigeria?
So it's the different tribal language, the different tribes. So each tribe has their language. I'm from the Igbo tribe, so my language is Igbo language, the Igbo language.
Igbo language. Did your mom come with you, or you just get on a plane and go by yourself?
It was just me, yeah.
And what were the emotions like, man? Like, you're 17, 18 years old, you're getting on a plane to go to some place called Pittsburgh that you probably never heard. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some things about it and read on the internet about it, but what was that like, man?
Yeah, so, for me, coming to America was a lot of excitement. I'll be honest with you on that, because again, I spent my whole life dreaming about this idea of America, and my mother she'd been here, obviously, so she'd spoken highly of the country. Like, oh my God, snow and this. So coming, I was very excited.
Had you ever seen snow before?
No, and I got a story for you on that. But I was very excited coming here because it was America, and I had a lot of respect for the country. But there was still fear. For one, there was fear of flying. That was the first time on a plane.
Wow.
So it's the first time, and I'm 17, 18, so the first time leaving home to a different, not just country, but a different continent, right? So it was a lot of excitement, and then there was, some fear with that, like what's going to happen. The fear, though, was more so financial fear, because all we had really coming here was the one-way flight that my mother borrowed, right? So we didn't know where I was going to stay. We didn't know where we were going to eat. We didn't know what, phone bill. None of that was figured out.
Oh my gosh.
All we had figured out was, my mother saying, hey, your auntie gave me X amount for one flight, and we're going to take the leap of faith and put you on that flight, and then we're going to figure the rest out.
So you land and you don't know where you're staying?
And we have no idea where we're staying.
Oh my gosh. And you're by yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
So you get to the airport.
Get to the airport, experience, do the whole thing, come out, the cops greet me. I say, great. They're like, have you ever been here before? I'm like, no. And they laugh, and I'm like, why are they laughing at me? So I come out, and then I see snow. And, because we ended up figuring out some stuff with one of my aunties who lived close by. But
First time to see snow.
first time since I took my shirt off, real story. I got so excited. I took my shirt off. I jumped in the snow. Zero exaggeration. Jumped in the snow, and then a few weeks later, I got sick. I never did the snow thing again. Yeah.
That is amazing, man. So then you go to college. You get on the soccer team, make friends. What was that experience like?
It was awesome, man. It was. I have tremendous respect for the school I went to, Sleepy Rock University. Great people. I struggled initially with accent, so I think I'm doing good now.
Doing amazing.
Okay, awesome. But initially, I struggled a lot with the accent. So when I first came to America, and I would be talking with a group of friends, and a lot of the times they'd be like, "Wait, what? What did you say?" And I would repeat the same, and they were like, and you can tell they didn't get what I said, but they're just like trying to be nice, right? So that was the initial struggle. But other than that, people were really nice. And this is something that translates in businesses when it comes to faith is I just took, me and my mother, we took the leap of faith of coming here. We didn't know where we were going to stay. We figured out school. I had to work at McDonald's and certain things like that, Walmart. But during the holidays, this one time, I didn't know we had to leave school. Like, I didn't know we had to leave the room in school. So I see everybody packing, I, run, and I call my mother. I'm like, where everyone's leaving. Where? And then my roommate tells me, well, everyone's going home. Like, it's the holiday, or whatever they call it. And it so happens that we were not aware of that. And so we had to figure out what I was going to say. And very randomly, this guy's, named Chris, who was my roommate, he just said, hey, you can come stay with me for the whole time. And his family allowed me to stay with them, and
That's awesome.
they fed me, and so those moments make me so emotional, Brian, because if not for that, if not for individuals like that throughout my time in this country, I don't know where we would be. So for me, those were crucial moments. People like that, and there's many stories of people like that who've come in and say, hey, this guy doesn't know what's going on. Like, he might need some help. Let's help him out.
Dude, that is incredible, man. So you get out of college. What was your first job out of college?
My first job, so the great stepping stone job. I worked overnight at Walmart. Mopping floors there. They gave me a day position, and I'm like, okay, guys, what's the overnight position? What's the difference in the income? And I think it was like $1.25. I'm like, give me the overnight one. So every day I'll take the bus and, go to Walmart, work my 8 to 10 hour shift to go home. And listen, in 4 months, I was able to save a good bit of money. Everything I got, I literally just set aside. And then after that, I got a job at a sales position as a logistics broker. And so for me, that was my introduction into thinking bigger.
Yeah.
Thinking for more for myself, and how can we do bigger things.
And then how did you find the insurance industry?
It was a complete fluke. I would like to give a strategic, I Googled it and it was perfectly, it wasn't any of that. I found the industry because I got let go from my previous job, the logistics job at the time, which at the time I thought was the end of the world. Today is something we thank God for. And so I was behind on a lot of responsibilities, like rent was coming up, things like that. And so I applied to 100 places on Indeed. And it so happened one of those places was a life insurance company. Now, I didn't know that until mid-interview. So they said, come in. I'm like, okay, when? I'm coming in tomorrow morning. Perfect. And then it was like a group interview. And then mid-interview, they said the word life insurance. And I looked around and nobody was like concerned. I'm like, okay, I guess this is normal. So it's life insurance we're going to be doing. They called me later that day, offered me the position, passed my test in a few days. And, the rest is history.
Man, and now you've built an incredible agency. You're bringing in people into the business, and I know you're so passionate about this industry, how we serve people. What is it about this industry that gets you up every day and excited about what we're doing?
I remember starting out, Brian, in the life insurance industry. When I started, to me, it was magical. My initial experience of this thing was, I started off similar to a time frame when my sister had passed away, and she had passed away from childbirth.
I'm sorry, man.
And so for me, it was the purpose was there now, because I saw the financial burden.
Yeah.
Because she left the child, she gave birth to the child, but she had unfortunately passed away. And so for me, that was like a wake up call of, look at what people have to deal with every single day.
Yeah.
So I had that purpose there. And then on top of that, I had no other choice but to go out there and work really hard. So we did that, and I had initial success that I'm very grateful for. And I realized very early on, like, I'm not special. There's nothing really, I didn't graduate with a 4.0. I'm very humble with the GPA side of things, and I'm not going to give you guys the exact.
Me too, bro.
Okay, great. Makes me feel better. But I was having tremendous success, comparatively speaking, to people that I graduated with. So in my head, I was like, why aren't more people doing this stuff? Why aren't more people getting themselves involved in business, in this business specifically? And so at that point, I was like, this was about 3-4 months in. I had saved a good bit. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to share this. Not for any other reason, but people should.
Yeah.
People like my friends should be doing this. My best friends should be doing this. So we decided to start talking about it casually. Few of my friends joined the business, had success. And then ultimately, we decided to go for something pretty big. And integrity has always been a part of that picture for us.
So what was it like transitioning? You were a personal producer. I started out as a personal producer. What was that transition like for you to recruit agents, get other people in, and see them succeed?
That's an area that I believe I struggled with the most.
Yeah.
Because for one, it's easy. At least for me, it was easier to lead myself.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to wake up and say, you got to go got to get to work. My struggle was the transition of doing that for self to now doing that for 10 people. And then we grew, okay, well, how do you do that for 50 people? And then we grew, well, how do you do that for 150 people, right? And that has been the continuous growth of having to recreate myself, reading books, learning from mentors like yourself and Sean, and just applying the same things they've done and that you guys have done. So the transition has been, and currently still is, because this continuous growth that we're working on it, has been huge. It's been a very important step for us, because you really can't accomplish anything by yourself.
Yeah.
So as a personal producer, for me, I did a lot of, great things in my opinion. But the challenge is now, okay, well, how do we get 500 people to have that same level of success?
You bring up an interesting point. I think a lot of people will say, you hear this a lot, like, you're a self-made person. And I just think that is ridiculous, because like, none of us are self-made. We all have to point back to our moms who encouraged us to do this, that business mentor that said, hey, you can do this. This person who gave you the opportunity to look at that. And you got to give credit to all of those people who are along the way. I've got a lot of people I have to give credit to, because there's no way you could do this on your own. And I know for me, one of the hardest parts, even today, is you have a lot of great partners. You got a lot of great people. And one of the issues is that people feel like they just arrived. That, man, I've I'm doing really well. I don't know what else we need to accomplish here. And I say this all the time, that we're just getting started, because I truly believe it deep down. We have this purpose. When you talk about the purpose, when you learned about your sister, about this purpose to help other people and this opportunity, how many more people do we have to go out and help? And it's not about like this terminating on us, like, man, I accomplished this and now I can just relax. It's really about how do we go serve more people? And I was convicted recently, last week, I was getting my hair cut, and this lady's cut my hair for probably 15 years. I've known her for forever, and she just had a family member die. And she came in, I was sitting in the chair getting my hair cut, and I saw it on Facebook, and I said, how's everything going? She goes, man, I had no idea how expensive it is to bury someone. She went through telling the story about, going through that process and how 3 family members had to put it on a credit card, including her, to pay for it. And she said, I need life insurance. She's like, do you know where I can get life insurance? I mean, she's cut my hair for 15 years.
Yep.
And I was so convicted, like, man, I'm doing a really bad job. How have I never mentioned this to her? We've talked about all sorts of ridiculous stuff over the years. How have we never talked about, like, the fact that this is what I do, right? And I told her, I said, man, Lisa, I'm so sorry. I've never told you this, but that's what I do. Like, I can help you. And I connected her to Rob Richmond, which is a great partner of ours who lives not very far from her. And I was like, Rob, can you help her? And Rob's like, I would be honored. But it's amazing, like, how many more people do we need to tell? And I love this quote by Zig Ziglar. Said that if you believe that your product or service fulfills a true need, then you have a moral obligation to tell everybody about it and to sell that product. And man, what other business fulfills a true need, this noble cause of taking care of people, some of the toughest times of their life? And then, man, we need to tell everybody about it. And so it's amazing you talking about that. And it's interesting as you think about leading the next generation of people that you're bringing up, 500, 1,000, 10,000 people that will join your organization. It's about how do we show them that same purpose, help them understand it's not just about you getting comfortable. It's about what can I do to help other people take care of them. And then the byproduct is how do I take care of my family, take care of all these other things. And that's where, man, I'm so excited to partner with guys like you who understand that need, who understand the purpose of what we do. And man, I'm so inspired by your story because, I mean, you are living the American dream. And you said this early on. I think that a lot of us have lost sight of the American dream and lost sight that this is the greatest country on earth and it's worth fighting for. And we should be looking for ways to collaborate and not get so like me against you type stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's sad.
It is getting.
It's super sad because this is a great land of opportunity for so many of us, including myself, growing up in a West Texas town and not having that much to now being in downtown Dallas and having this amazing company that we're all building together. You coming from Nigeria, I mean, where else is that possible, right? And so, man, thank you for sharing your story today. Thanks for joining Integrity, man. We are super excited about supplying more resources, more products, more technology, more support to help you go and serve even more people. And can't wait to see what we can accomplish together, man, because I do believe we're just getting started, man.
I 100% agree, Brian. We're just getting started. So thank you very much.
Hey, man,
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I am inspired by you. And I hope you're just as inspired as I am. I could keep going for hours talking about this because this is truly a virtuous business. And what I mean by that is everybody wins. Whenever we partner with carriers, the carrier wins. When we recruit agents, the agents win. Whenever we partner with great agencies, the agency win. And ultimately the consumer wins, right? Everybody wins in this. And there's very few business opportunities in the world where everybody wins. Most business opportunities are I win, you lose, and that's it. In this business, everybody wins, and we can help come alongside of each other and ultimately help the American people with the products and services that we offer. And it's one of the most noble businesses in the world by being able to help people in some of the most difficult times of their lives. And so hearing this story just inspired me even more about our purpose, about helping people plan for the good days ahead and helping them do that with integrity. So I hope you all have an incredible week. And I hope you're just as inspired as I am. We have so much to be thankful for and so much opportunity ahead of us. We're just getting started. God bless you and have a great week.